right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Replit Live. We are here in studio today with the head of community, Francisco. We've got some special guests, Victoria and Samuel, behind the scenes, who are going to join us today talking about Replit Design. It has been an action-packed week here, so we're going to go over kind of everything that's going on in the community with the product. We're going to get behind the scenes. You know, Fridays are always where we drop all the alpha and get everyone excited about everything going on here at Replit. What's going on, Francisco? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here. We have a couple quick little community updates and just a quick couple of shout outs. Nadia, Summer Camp, always in the chat. KG, thanks so much for bringing in all of our new Discord users. I know there's a lot coming in very, very recently. Javon, thanks so much for joining us yesterday for our student live stream as well. For anyone that missed it, we were able to get Frederick in here as well, which was great. Steve, a special guest from Steve today, coming out from London. And of course, Chris, I know this is kind of your gateway into the weekend. So very excited to be here with you on this Friday. A lot coming up soon.
And the pizza conversation continues. We never always our community rocks. It does, absolutely. What's up, everyone? Hi. Yeah, let us know where you're watching. Be sure to say hi in the comments. We always like to see those coming in. We'll pull those in as we go during the stream as best we can. And we do like to answer questions and riff with all of you as we go through. So share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, and let us know what you're thinking about Replit Design as we kind of go through and explore the conversation behind the scenes on that. I know the product team will be interested to hear from everybody as we go. So, okay, let's get into this. Community updates. Francisco, you want to share kind of what's going on with the community here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the community continues to grow. One of the big things that we're doing right now is that we actually have opened up Discord for all users. So previously it was only open to pro users and core. Now it's open to free as well. So we highly recommend you going out and checking out our server. It's a fantastic place to be able to meet other folks from around the world, build with them, troubleshoot some of your projects, and more importantly, make friends to kind of get inspiration along the way. So highly recommend dropping in to go check it out. If you notice, we have a small banner on the Replit page and the Replit product. So we're bringing in a lot new users. So it's a great time to get started and say hello to our new friends. Along with that, we have a lot happening in the community homepage. So highly recommend checking out the community homepage for all the latest, getting access to Discord, being able to apply to either the ambassador or campus leaders program. A great place to be able to kind of connect with other super users from around the world. And speaking of our global users, we've had a lot of events globally. So we've had some incredible meetups happening. We had some in Regia, we had them in Accra, Lima, Peru, and as well here in San Francisco and New York. There's a lot more coming up soon. So keep an eye out for that. I believe we're going to be at Stanford next week. New York City was actually last night with some of our interns as well. So keep an eye out for more events coming soon. And the community homepage, that's going to get a lot more updates. So always recommend going there to kind of see what's the latest and greatest happening on the community side. But yeah, with that, I'll pass it back to Raimar. Oh, one last thing, actually, before I do that, we have a, speaking of events, we have some great events, live streams, and in-person events coming up with Revenue Cat. So it's an absolutely fantastic partner of ours. We're always doing something great. A lot of you I know who built your very first mobile app use Revenue Cat to be able to kind of monetize that. So highly recommend checking these out. There's over $1 million in prizes for their world's largest mobile hackathon. They're doing a lot of amazing things. It kicks off on August 1st, so tomorrow, and goes up until September 30th. There's over $1 million in total prizes. So highly recommend checking it out. Register for the Ship Kit perk, so 40% off Replit Core is included. So I would highly recommend checking that out. I think we're actually going to be doing some in-person events globally with them. So there's something coming up in Tokyo very, very soon, as well as New York City, San Francisco, and a couple other cities globally. So check it out.
Yeah, and then Manny is doing a stream, taking your mobile app to idea from published, from idea to publish in the App Store. Come on, Ramar, get it together. To go alongside with that. And I think there's special prizes for that Revenue Cat Hackathon that are just for Replit participants. So like there's like the general prizes, but then like there's a prize pool, I think, of 30,000 plus that's just for using Replit, building with Replit, etc. And so yeah, join Manny on Thursday next week as he takes you through that process. Yeah. And check the calendar, the events calendar, community calendar for more details.
Yeah, huge shout out to Matt, who was helping put this together. He'll be on the stream as well. And every time I get on a phone call with him, he's somewhere around the world. I have to double check his time zone, whether it's Korea, Portugal, or I guess it was Portland yesterday. So yeah, great chance to be able to get a chance to meet with Matt as well.
Right on. Okay. I think that's it for announcements. I think now we get into the fun stuff of kind of what's happening this week in Replit. We announced the new Replit Design product, which is what we're going to talk deeply about today. And basically, this is opening the door for everyone to become a designer or have access to design skills. So the headlines here are ambient intelligence, which is essentially allowing you to kind of build with one click, suggesting. We're going to talk about suggested task here, which you may have seen in the agent as well. And so now we're bringing that concept into the design phase where the agent will start suggesting directions for you to take and explore your design, go through the iteration process. We're bringing templates in that you can kind of look and explore with one click. Use those as your starting point, use them as inspiration, kind of take it as you go. We've also got Mobbin built in. This is the first time you have access directly to Mobbin library inside of a design tool for free as you build. And so having those resources, design inspiration, etc., baked in the cake is also really cool. And there's also the ability to bring your brand in and build design systems with one click. And so Replit Design makes it really easy to maintain consistent design throughout. We're going to talk a little bit about that and explore examples from the community as we go through the stream today. So also launching this week was model selector. So the ability to go through and pick your model. Lots of folks have asked and have interest in kind of directing the agent in what model they want to use. So you can do that directly inside of the Replit agent selector now, or you can still use recommended and let the agent kind of pick and direct which model you want to use. So a little bit more freedom, flexibility for those who, kind of want it. For those who don't, you still have the same experience. Replit will recommend the model and kind of do its own thing. And that's available to all core and pro users now inside of the Replit UI. Okay, suggested task rolls out to everyone. I've just kind of been taken for granted that this is like a thing everyone has because I see it in the back. And this is one of those things that is super helpful. A lot of times when the agent finishes, it will recommend the next task for you to try out. You just click start. You can click and view the task right there and fire that off. Super helpful for little things you might have missed or other stuff, again, that the agent might think is relevant to the project. I know a lot of times it makes great suggestions that you just with one click can go and accept that. They will run in the background. You can then merge those like you do with any other task. You can also see those on your task board as you go. So really cool just to see, again, the agent kind of becoming your companion as you build these digital tools and whatnot, and how that's evolving. So again, that's rolling out to all users on all tiers. I think, new usage page. So lots of folks have been asking about detailed usage, like how do I know what projects, what I'm using, how much the agent's billing me for X, Y, Z. So there's a new usage page that you should go check out. It's offering near real time. It's not obviously in exactly real time, but as close as we can get you to getting a better snapshot of what's going on inside your projects. And enterprise folks and people who are logging into Replit regularly will also appreciate the ability to stay logged in a bit longer, with enterprises having the ability to set how long that login refresh lasts. So just a couple things to wrap up there, but it's been an action-packed week. And maybe what we'll do is we'll bring in, let's just do this right meow. Let's go ahead and bring in Victoria to just, as we segment out of that, did we miss anything about what's going on? Like what's your highlights? Say hi to the crowd. It's always good to see you. Hi, Victoria.
What a joy to be here another week consecutively. It's so fun to be back. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, back to back in studio. So what's your general thought this week after seeing a big product like this kind of go out into the world?
Oh my goodness. It's so cool to see everything in just a segment like that. It really highlights how much we've shipped this week. I was looking at that and I was like, wow, that's kind of unbelievable. I'm really excited to talk deeper about Replit Design. I also really want to shout out the Revenue Cat hackathon again. I know Francisco and I and a few folks here, we did an internal one. And last time we did that from Replit's side, a lot of folks went onto the news to talk about the apps they've built and such. And so it's going to be really cool to see what the community builds. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, building mobile apps, I think is still probably like a little under, like it's not as well known just yet. Like we've seen like a major increase in mobile apps, but I think people are still like sleeping on that build a native app experience. So events like this kind of, help put that on people's radar, and it'll be exciting. It's always exciting to see. Like I know the first mobile build-a-thon was like super
Yeah.
cool to see what people built, and the products come so far.
Uh-huh.
So I can't even imagine what this next phase of like what people are going to build.
No, totally. And the fact that you can now bring it to like monetization with Revenue Cat, and yeah, it'll be really cool to see what happens there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's do this. I think we're going to do a little swappy do. So we're going to go here, and we're just going to chat with Victoria a little bit about general thoughts, and then we're going to bring Samuel in. So we're going to do a swap out. Francisco's going to change out here, but let's just chat. Victoria, like, give me your general thoughts on Replit Design, like this week going through, like just seeing folks build, seeing like the product just kind of come together. Like, what are you?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll give the precursor, and I'm excited for Samuel, who's joining on my right here, to hop in with me.
Hello.
Hi, Samuel. I don't know if you're expecting to be introed right now.
Not so soon.
Yeah, you sat down. You're in the hot seat.
I
game
selfishly was like, I can't talk about this without Samuel. I feel like, yeah, you've poured so much of yourself into this product. I feel like it's only right that you introduce it and talk about it first.
Okay. Well, here we are. I'm Samuel. I'm on the product team here at Replit. And like Victoria and Raymar said, this week we launched Replit Design. So what is Replit Design? It is a general purpose design tool for everybody. It is a expansion of what we've been working on since November around the design space, which we then relaunched with Canvas, with Agent 4. But what we saw with Replit Design, as we were sort of planning out what was next for the future of design products within Replit, is the space had become quite commoditized, and there was many tools that would give you like an AI assistant to help you do design work, but it was still hard for someone that doesn't have the design language, the know-how, the intentionality to get amazing outputs from prompts. And so we really built the whole interface around these end-to-end design use cases and making it easier than ever for anybody, regardless of your design background, to generate amazing outputs. Anybody can be a designer with Replit Design. And so, we can chat a little bit more about the specific features that we launched, how fast it is to generate amazing outputs, but super excited to be on the show and talking about Replit Design today.
Now he's introduced, he set it up. Like, I think part of for me is like, how do you approach this? Like, design is such a kind of a saturated market, and so many people get like snobby about design. Like it's like there's lots of art side of it, and I get it, right? Like, I'm a designer at my core, I'm an artist, but also like when you're doing digital products and doing certain things, like sometimes you just like there's a lot to think about, and most teams don't have access to like a full design team or a full agency or a full like set of creative resources you might go to like access something like this, especially as an individual creator or as a small team. And so like, how do you even approach this, or how do you like think about this type of tool in such a crowded design space? I mean, is that like a
I think that's a great question, and I also want to highlight or shout out Samuel in that as we were building this, we were heavily encouraged to think about the non-designer use case, which might sound kind of like opposing and antithetical to building a design tool, but it is definitely true that if you're building a design tool for somebody who might be new to design, the form factor and the user experience should look different. If you open a product like Figma or Adobe, and I just remember being in high school and trying to learn Illustrator for like 4 months, things like that. And so we're thinking about how do we make this as simple as possible while still giving users the control that they need in order to get to an outcome that they're satisfied with. So I would say that was kind of a guiding principle for us and really shaped how the product turned out.
Yeah. And I think it can be so complicated to do, like learning these tools, right? Like Replit itself is a fairly complicated tool to kind of get in, especially when you're building software. But also, like, so is every other, like if you think about After Effects, what it takes to like build motion graphics, or Photoshop, or like some of these really like powerful creative tools, like there is a lot of complexity there, and it almost becomes a career in and of itself just to learn that complexity. What I think this is doing, it's like packaging some of that complexity up in a way that like a non-designer can have access to some of those resources and amplify what their creative output could be. And I was a little skeptical, to be honest. When I heard the early phase of this, so Samuel, I actually might direct this at you because I know,
Sure.
creatively, like this is kind of your baby here. But I was like a little skeptical, and then I started playing with it, and I started getting like some really cool stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool, and it's taken me in directions that I didn't even think or like consider exploring, and it does such a good job of like working with reference and other inspiration. So yeah, Samuel, I don't know, like how do you deal with that back and forth between like a little bit of skepticism around design and like delivering, like what this thing does, which is like, we'll look at some examples here. But yeah,
I
some
mean,
really
look,
beautiful
to
stuff.
be honest, I was skeptical too. When we first started doing design tooling with the launch of design mode back in November, it was amazing. Like it was the best product for producing, website designs, product designs, whatever. Like AI had not been good at design until that point in November. But by the time we launched Canvas, even with Agent 4 back in March, the space became very, very crowded. Like there was just a lot of AI design tools, and they kind of all had the same form factor. It's like, okay, there's a big long prompt box, just like any other vibe coding tool. There's like a preview where you can go look at some stuff. And I was like, everybody's building the same thing, and we're all building on the same models for the most part. And so, how are we going to stand out? Like, how are we going to build something that's not just marketed as better? It's actually better. I sat down and I got together with the team, and we really thought about it. And I think what we realized was this insight that, despite the fact that it seemed like we were already there with AI design tooling, like it seemed like everybody had figured out what the form factor was, we hadn't been creative enough. Like really, what was the form factor at that point in time? Again, it was a prompt box, just like a vibe coding tool that's meant for coding, and a preview. A lot of times the old interfaces aren't what you need when the models get better. We saw that with coding, right? We started with IDEs with assistants to the left of it, like Cursor, and then we ended with things that looked a little bit more like CLI tools and like leaning into agents once the models got better. And so the same thing needed to happen with design, I realized. And so what did that look like to build the sort of form factor entirely around the power of the models? Well, it looked like building an interface where the model is guiding the design exploration. When you go and hire a design agency or you get an amazing designer like Victoria or someone else on the team to go do work for you, it's not just like, okay, go do this one thing and then give me one version back, or even like a couple variations back. It's a process of thinking through what are all the options? What is visual inspiration? Here's a mood board. Based on that mood board, let me do another variation, and really like stitching together the entire flow of what it means to explore the design space. And so we built the entire tool around that, both sort of the AI guiding the exploration and doing that with like clicks instead of typing, and then also figuring out how to get as much visual inspiration to you and to your agent to guide that process with thousands of templates and the first of its kind integration with Mobbin, where users can browse over 600,000 screens from the best designed companies in the world through this company called Mobbin that we have integrated directly on Replit. So that's sort of the spiel and sort of how we arrived at what the product looks like today. And I'm pretty convinced that it's the future.
Yeah, it feels like the next layer of, from a creative standpoint, like iterating. Like I am a design school dropout, right? Like I literally went to car design school, industrial design, and a big part of the creative process is like the ideation phase, right? It's like going through lots of like sketching and wireframing and testing and tinkering. Like that's kind of but that's also like a big bottleneck, right? Like it's time intensive. Sometimes, again, like having the resources to dedicate to that. I'd be interested to know, just from both of you, like your initial, like, do you have people talking about this? Like, are there friends saying yay, nay? Like, have you seen some cool stuff? Like, what are you seeing as it's only a couple days out, right? Like,
yeah. My friends are pumped. I'll let Vic talk too, but I think like, again, I don't know if the market has even fully realized what we've done yet, but I think for folks that are in San Francisco, that are in the sort of epicenter of tech and see everything that's going on, they realize like what this is. This is the first post-prompting interface for AI. Like there's been tons of people talking all across the internet about what's next in terms of the interaction pattern between humans and AI. And, I don't know what it is for like the broader other categories, full stack app development. There's still a lot of work to be done, but for design, like this is next. And this is the first of its kind tool that's really puts, AI at the center to get the best outputs. But curious what you've heard from your
Yeah.
designer friends.
It's always fun whenever you launch something and then you get like 5 to 10 messages immediately from your designer friends that are like, hey, can I get access to this? And then also, hey, can you give me some free credits? So that's all of my friends are really excited too. I think to the point about this being a post prompting product, what's also cool, not only to make this accessible for non-designers, is that designers who may not be as familiar with AI tools are also feeling like that this is a more approachable interface. I remember showing Replit for the first time to one of my design friends, worked in big tech for a really long time. She looked at the prompt box and was like, what am I supposed to say to it? Like, do I start with hi? Like, how do I begin? And she was used to using, chat products, but she had never prompted something to get to an outcome that she wants. So the fact that this is a very much like visual first, we're guiding you. You don't have to know how to say anything, and you can still explore, I think has been really resonating with a lot of folks.
Yeah, and I think despite the fact that we did build it explicitly for non-designers to make it accessible, I was talking to a buddy about this last night. It's like, even for the designers, I mean, maybe we're not there yet for them, but like in the future, right? 5 or 10 years from now, do you really think that like the designer is going to want a tool that's like, oh, you didn't like what I came up with the first time? Like, why don't you type out what you think will fix it? Or do you think they'll want a tool that's like, oh, you didn't like this first one? Here are like 3 other things that like which one of these are you going for? Did you want it to be more like this one, more like this one, or more like this one? Like that's definitely how designers think, right? Designers think visually, like more so than other folks too, right?
Yeah. I think that's right. I think it's I like to talk a lot about like tangibility when it comes to designing and design tools. And so feeling like you can actually touch and like manipulate the process in a way that's beyond just words. And I think that's definitely right in how a lot of designers think, for sure.
Can we talk a little bit about that post-prompt era, Samuel? I heard you talking about that, and who mentioned it on X? I think you made a post actually about
I think
this, and then
Amjad too,
Amjad retweeted
yeah.
or something, or yeah, like I've seen it just a couple times mentioned throughout the Replit sphere here, and you just brought it up. What do you like? Let's dive into that just a little bit, right? Like Victoria, you talked a little bit about your friend saying like, "What do I put into this prompt?"
Mhm.
There is that like almost like writer's block, right, or that creative thing. So it's like,
Yeah.
what is like, maybe explain post prompt or the concept behind that, and like let's talk a little bit about why that might be relevant a little bit. Let's stick on that just for a sec.
You know, I think a good analogy to which by which to describe this is like, do you want the employee where you have to prescriptively tell them exactly what to do at every step, or do you want the employee that you can give like a higher level goal to, and they can just go and accomplish it? Or even better, an employee that you don't even have to give the goal to; they just find a way to create value. And I think we've been consistently moving this direction, both with AI broadly and with Replit, right? Like long running agents that you can describe a higher level goal to. We started talking about a year ago now, and the whole industry's now caught up and started talking about it too. But yeah, I mean, the way I'd frame it is like, yeah, when you're prompting the AI, like you're the individual contributor and you're getting sped up by AI, but you're still doing the work, right? And when we move to this post prompting era where the AI is able to sort of manage itself, now you're the CEO. And so, like, would you rather be, sort of the individual contributor, or would you rather be the CEO? Like, would you rather be turned into the designer, or would you rather be like the CEO managing the design team? I think most people would rather be the CEO.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe let's pin in on that. Just let's dig in a little deeper, because there's a lot of like there's a lot of scary talk right now about like AI is going to replace the jobs and it's going to replace the creators. And I think there's a lot of folks in the design world who see stuff like this and might think like, is this replacing me? Is this something that's going to steal my job? Victoria, we were at an event the other day where you talked about design and you talked about like it was very interesting to me. You talked about like the two approaches of like kind of like the manipulate the pixels first, right? The first class, like I'm designing and kind of like really organically like spreading that shape, and I want to kind of direct the UI myself versus like let the agent and let me kind of curate. And so there's like two approaches here, and the market's kind of coming at it from two different places. But like, what do you say to those folks? How does this like fit into the like typical design workflow? Like, what's your thought there?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Samuel's point, even if you are still a designer, it feels more empowering to feel like you have agency over your process, right? And so I don't think this eliminates designers at all. In fact, I think if you are someone that has a lot of taste, that can think critically, that is really good at systems thinking, this is probably the best era for you. I think the tool is even better if you already know how to design and you have a lot of taste that you want to then direct back into the tool itself. And so I don't think at all that this necessarily replaces that process. I think it just enables and empowers that process even further. And then to extend beyond that, if you are someone that doesn't have the ability to, work with designers, you're a founder, uh, resourcing is tight. I think it then even further helps you as someone who is may not be a designer that can get to a place that's reasonable, and then once you are able to bring designers in, you can work with them further in that regard. So
Yeah.
it definitely helps with the collaboration as well, I think. Even I already see it within the team as well, right? A lot of people from marketing, from operations, community even, bring designs back to us, and we're able to then just give them a few notes. They go back and work with the agent further and refine it. And so, yeah, I think it even helps speed up and helps with the collaboration process too.
Yeah, Samuel, I know you got some thoughts on this.
No, I mean, everybody gets a promotion. I think that's the outcome of AI, right? Like you get to be the individual contributors turn into managers of agents, and there's so much more empowered, to Victoria's point. So I think I understand the fear. I think it's especially when there's companies out there that are sort of peddling it and leading into they're going to automate every job in the economy. It's understandable that people are fearful, but I would be excited. I really do think that everybody got a promotion, and think how much more valuable you're going to be to your company if you know how to use these tools well. You're going to be so much more. Someone who doesn't use these tools or doesn't use them well, you're going to be more than 10x more valuable than them. So yeah, be excited. Everybody got a promotion.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way to look at this. I think, first of all, there's a lot, like if it leads, it bleeds. It's kind of coming into the AI industry where it's like, if it's chaotic and it feels like it's going to be disruptive, like let's promote that because it's going to get the clicks and it's going to kind of like lead headlines. And I think one of the things that excites me, and we talk about regularly on these streams, is that Replit is kind of counter to that position in a lot of ways, where we're looking at this as like human in the loop, maximize creative output. How do you give someone like me or you or some individual or small team the ability to kind of compete at a higher scale that you wouldn't have access to? And one of the things that I have found, like working inside of Replit, is that I now have the ability to like do things that I just never would have done before for whatever reason. Like, again, like I couldn't hire a software development team to build this thing because it would have cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now I can build it in Replit, over the course of a weekend. And so I think that's where, like my mind shifts from a creative standpoint, where like Victoria, you said, this is the best moment to be a designer because you have these tools at your disposal. And so I think like, instead of thinking about this, like, oh, it's going to like take my job or it's going to like handicap me, I think this becomes like the coolest launch pad to just take every idea you've ever had in your brain and make it real. Am I missing, something inside of there, or?
No, I think that was said perfectly.
And that's like, that's from a person who has been beating his head against these things for a long time, right? Like big ideas, trying to do things at scale, almost always limited by budget, resources, technical constraints, creative resources, like all of these things that, like you have to organize if you want to like achieve or build something that's bigger than just a little prototype.
Yeah. And I think it's true for the entrepreneur or the employee, right? For the entrepreneur, it's easy to see how Replit is useful. You can, even as a non-engineer, build a full stack tech application, like you said, Raymar, that could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire developers for. Or even as an engineer, you can now move, way faster than ever before. But in addition to that, within a company, right, you can do types of tasks that otherwise would not be in your job description. I'm sometimes, maybe to the mixed reviews from the design team, I'm sending them, Replit prototypes all the time of like, here's what I think this thing should look like. Maybe I wouldn't have done that before. When we have launches and we don't have time to get an agency to make a launch video, like we're making them with Replit animation. And so, yeah, you can do more, regardless of sort of whether you're working at a company or you're on your own as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, maybe talk about that a little bit because you were also behind the I think the Replit animations video is one of our like most popular live streams to this date, and it was a big launch. And I think the launch video from that was created inside of Replit. You also
Yeah.
like they did that inside of Replit.
Yeah.
And so there is this line where like for sure you can use these tools to create, you know, spammy, like lots of volume. Like you could do that if you want. But if you have the same thing with anything else, like if you have a little bit of taste and you know how to direct this thing, the outcome you can get or the output you can get is like, again, it's still reliant on your skill set a little bit, on your direction, on your prompt. Like, what do you say to that?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely reliant. I mean, I think to me, one of the exciting things about just how AI has moved in general is I think it's decreased, you know, sort of the value of skills in some sense towards the value of like agency and like higher level thinking, which I really love because I think, you know, everybody can probably relate to this idea that like, you know, that's, you know, sort of older, you know, 40s, you know, 50s, gray haired specialist in some field that when you give them advice or you say, hey, like this is probably not how this should be done. They're like, no, you wouldn't understand it. It's really complicated. I've built the skill set and you just wouldn't get it. And I think the cool thing about AI is like a lot of times, you know, they're wrong. You do get it. But you know, you're not in a position to really, you know, talk to the expert because you don't have the skill set and there might be things you don't know. Now that these skills are unlocked, whether it's like making a launch video or making an amazing slide deck or building a full stack application or making designs, you know, you don't have to sort of navigate this skill gap in order to just get the best output for the company or the matter at hand. And so for the case of like the Replit animation launch video, I was even like, hey guys, like I'm pretty busy. Like I'm writing code for this. Like I don't really want to make the launch asset. Like let's get an agency for this, right? Let's make it really good. And the agency was working on it, and I was seeing the outputs. I'm like, man, I just think I can do better. And I'm not, you know, I'm not a designer, but you know, I spent the time. I knew what we had to communicate, and we ended up with, you know, the most viral launch that we've ever done at Replit. And so I think, you know, this is just happening across the board. Victoria's writing code. Everybody's writing code. You know, everybody's doing design. And so if you're someone with high agency that has opinions, it's never been a better time.
Exciting. You definitely threw me off there when you said 40s.
I know, I was like too young. I don't know, 50s,
that's
60s.
way
Yeah.
too young.
I don't know. Gray
But
hair specialist. Let's
everything
just say.
else, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
What do you say to the aspiring young creative to develop these skills, right? Because we're entering kind of this era of the creative generalist, right? Where it used to be maybe you would just go and specialize in one of these tools, whereas now you kind of this orchestration idea of like, let me have a little bit of design skill, let me have a little bit of sales and marketing skill, let me have a little bit of technical skill, let me have a little bit of media creation content, you know, like what do you say to somebody who's kind of entering this space and maybe sees this as intimidating or doesn't really know where to kind of get started playing with these concepts? Like, where would you, if you were starting today as a creative, as a person entering this market, like what advice would you give to somebody just starting out?
Ooh, that's a good question. This is gonna sound perhaps a little too simple, but I think I would just try starting somewhere. Whether that's a prompt box or any of the, you know, various tools out there, pick something and then pick something that you're curious about and see where that takes you. And then I think leaning in to your own curiosity and interests is more important than ever now when the options available to you at your fingertips is so vast. And so, you know, if you like playing sports or if you have a particular interest, I would start there and then dive deeper into that category and then try making something related to the industry or field that you're interested in. And then I think you'll start to learn about what is out there that you can do and get to a place where you start discovering all of these paths that you can go down. I know that was perhaps a little bit too higher level, but
I think not. I think
yeah.
I think that, and Samuel, maybe I'll pass it to you here in a sec, but I think like the high agency thing is probably like the right path where it's like just start somewhere, start doing something. As you see the results of that thing or not results of that thing, then you adjust. And I think that becomes probably the right way. It's like years ago, I'm a design school dropout, right? I dropped out of an industrial design program.
Mhm.
And years ago, we helped start a marketing program, like a digital marketing program at a local university when I was in Florida.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite things to do was basically start the class by saying, I am a design school dropout. I'm a college dropout teaching you a college course now. And everything we teach you in this class is basically going to be irrelevant almost immediately after I teach it to you. So the only way you're going to learn this is to go out into the field and actually do the thing you want to do. So if you want to build an e-commerce site, go set up a Shopify store. If you want to like learn about SEO, go set up a website and figure out how to get Google to crawl it.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to do something, if you want to like produce videos and be a YouTuber, start making videos. So I think like it's probably the right advice, you know?
Yeah, and I think all of this stuff in particular seems so much more daunting than it is. I think that's the biggest thing. If you are not someone that uses these tools on a regular basis, it seems impossible, but it's truly only because you haven't tried yet.
Yeah, it's one prompt.
So yeah, Sam, I'd be interested in your like approach to this. Like, what would you tell folks starting out
For creatives? I don't know.
or builders, or just yeah?
I would say just make stuff. I mean, I think echoing much of what Vic said, but yeah, there's no excuses anymore. Like, just start.
Just start. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Somebody just ask here. Where is it? I'm sorry, I lost my cursor. Okay. Somebody just said, is there going to be a demo session? Should we pull up a canvas?
Let's do it.
And maybe click some
It's
buttons.
so fast now.
Let's see. I had a lot of fun with this actually. Maybe we'll do the first little. I might be zoomed in a little too much here. Let's do that. And let me clear my space here. I had a little bit of fun with this. Let me go into the design mode and we can maybe see where this started and how we got to, I asked it for like a little radio station. And this is kind of where we started. And then I just started like having it give me direction. So like maybe we can walk folks through kind of what's happening here.
Yeah.
I'm on, maybe let me go to the screen share.
Say.
You can go to screen share. Just assuming everyone's seeing this. Okay, so let's go. Boom. Let's do that. Okay, so we're looking at a Replit Design canvas here. Let's go ahead and collapse this so we can have a full view. And we started out with like this thing. I think this was my first prompt. We could probably go back and look at what the prompt was initially. But I wasn't like super in love with this. I asked it for like a Spotify player and, you know, like it gave me a little bit of stuff, but then I was like, where can we go from here? And it gave me a couple options. And so what I do is I just click on the canvas and we'll see that now I have this ambient intelligence that lets me kind of pick which direction I might want to go. And it's pretty basic, right? Like folks don't need to do much more than that. There's the whole template library on the side that we could pull in from if we want.
Yeah. So just for context for the templates, you know, these are like thousands of like actual real, you know, React.js based design frames, like websites basically, that we somehow got a bunch of like, you know, mad scientists together and figured out how to deterministically instantly drop and run on any project. Like, I don't think people realize that starting from a template is easy. Like every design tool does that. But, you know, we wanted somewhere where you could get inspiration at any time and then remix that inspiration in one click. And so this was quite difficult to do, but we figured out how to do it. Boom. Like that's actual code running on that canvas. And you can do that within any project. And then now if you want to exit focus mode and you go to the right and these generated suggested next steps, you can click any of these, right? And then, you know, 20 seconds or 30 seconds later, you'll have a variation of that. And so I think this is something that's like underrated. People hear templates and they think, oh, starting points. No. Like you can, and any project at any time, drop in this inspiration and remix with one click. Nobody else in the market has something like this.
And it doesn't cost you money. Like when you drop in the template, you're essentially starting for free.
Yeah. And then similar to templates, if you go to that inspiration tab, this is that Mobbin integration we were talking about before. So Mobbin is a tool used by professional designers to browse inspiration from the best design companies across the internet, more than 600,000 screens. And we've been interested in partnering with them since I joined Replit, before I joined Replit a year ago. But they only offer paid subscriptions. And so they recently launched an MCP, but you would have needed a paid subscription to use Replit. And so, to use Mobbin on Replit. And so that to me was like completely unacceptable. Like we can't force you to go subscribe to some other software and go link out. Like we would just want to make the experience easy. And so we were able to broker the first of its kind partnership that Mobbin's ever done for a native integration. And so when you're going to that inspiration tab and you're searching up, Airbnb onboarding or whatever for inspiration, those are like real Mobbin screens coming from the API, but coming to you even without a Mobbin subscription. And so it's just yet another way for you to get beautiful inputs into the AI, which then also helps avoid sort of the mode collapse or AI slop looking things that you'll see from a lot of design tools on the market because they don't have the right sort of inputs to the model to produce a diverse output.
Yeah, and I think just the experience of navigating this canvas is so good. This idea of like kind of focusing in on different things and then being able to even prompt. So for sure, I can use the ambient intelligence and have this kind of direct me, but I can also then prompt or ask it for something very specific, which is kind of what happened over here. And so after so this is kind of the same exploration process before. I'm going to selfishly share just my little design exploration. So we then came to this thing, and I was like, oh, we can go a little bit further. And so let me just share what we came up with. If I refresh this, and I'm actually going to minimize the show because this is an actual Spotify app that I built.
Oh, so cute.
That lets you grab your tape deck. You can draw on screen here. So like you can just kind of draw with the pen. Let's say you grab a tape and put it in the cartridge, and I won't let it play because it's gonna
vibe coding is the new arts and crafts.
And I click on a playlist here. It's gonna change all my tape decks at the bottom, so it's gonna bring in like whatever tapes I have on my playlist. I can kind of shuffle through and then bring it in. And if you look on the right, it's actually playing through Spotify. So this is like legitimately connected. It wasn't at first. It was just a design. I was like, I just want a tape deck. I want to go old school. I want to be able to like kind of play and visualize my playlists. And then I was like, I wonder if Spotify has an SDK that I can just ask the agent to connect to this. I went to Spotify, grabbed a key, and literally with a couple prompts, I'm connecting, and it's connected to Spotify. So specifically, if I play something from here now, it will also switch over to this.
Wow.
So it's like a fully custom Spotify player that is just, again, popped out by Replit Design.
Yeah.
A lot of fun to do. And it's an example of the type of interactive, fun, playful things you could just experiment with.
Yeah, I think this brings up a good point that people ask us a lot on Twitter is like, okay, are these things just designs? Like once you design it, is this it? Are they just going to be sort of things to screenshot and share with the team? The answer is they can be if you want them to be, or you can just press the build button at the top of every design frame and turn it into a real full stack application in just a few minutes. Yeah. And so that's what you're seeing here is starting with a design frame and then just with one click, turning that into a real published web application.
You should get like a big TV screen that's like touchable.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I was exploring this, and what I wanted to do is like create a community mixtape and like let everyone like just throw a song into a playlist. But that Spotify SDK, apparently they don't let you do that unless you're like a high level commercial company. So like I can use it for personal stuff, but I can't like actually make this open for more than like a handful of people to use. So anyway, fun experiment. I'll make it remixable. We'll share this if anybody wants to like play and tinker with this thing. But it is just a small little sample of like what the type of thing you could create with these types of tools,
Absolutely.
Okay. We have a changeover. Do we look at some comments? I know we have some time constraints, but we have one more. Are we we have a guest swap. At some point we're going to move, I think, one of you all out. But let's maybe wrap up with thoughts from you on just like what's happening with Replit in general, with the creative AI space. Like maybe we can just have actually, Samuel, let's have you first, and then we'll swap out, and then we'll close out with Victoria.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had already prepared my parting words. My parting words are, it's despite the fact that there's so much noise across the internet about AI, it's actually like quite rare that you have a fork in the road of what the market and the product form factor is going to look like in the space. Like there's discrete moments in time where things materially change about software or about AI. And I genuinely think that this week with Replit Design, you've seen a fork in the road for what the interface of AI human interaction looks like. So I'd say to the extent that that's exciting to you, like you should try to be early in this wave, in this evolution, and unlock the power that comes from putting AI at the center of an interface in order to drive you to faster outcomes. So check it out. Let us know your feedback. still early for the product. I'm sure we'll make it a lot better, but I'm so excited we were able to release it to the world this week. Thank you.
Right on. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do. Let me see if I click the right button. I think it's this one. There we go. Okay, we'll let Samuel pop out, and we'll bring in our next guest. And yeah,
excited.
Vic, we'll close out your little segment or this. I think we got you for maybe like another 10 or 15.
Yeah. I can stick around for another 10 or 15.
Okay.
We have one of our designers joining us.
Yeah. Do you want to handle the? Do you want to do the intro?
I would love to do the intro. So we have a designer here, one of my favorite designers to work with. And we're actually going to be talking about another feature within Replit Design, which is design systems. But I'd first kick it off to Pallavi to introduce herself.
Yeah, and take a second.
Hey y'all, it's great to be here. Vic, likewise, you're one of my favorite people to work with here.
Thank you.
I'm Pallavi. I'm a product designer at Replit, and I've worked on a part of Replit Design. So I've worked on design systems specifically, which lets you create a system that you can have agent follow and have consistent designs. And so I'm just here to chat about that today.
It's a part, but it's a huge part, I will say. And I think it's really exciting, and we can dive into the feature details a little bit more, but it really is the first to so much more for design systems. By far, something that's been requested, I think, since my first day at joining Replit. And I think it's also really exciting because it definitely transcends beyond just designs. If you are creating applications and you want consistent outputs and consistent visual just outputs across your different applications, it's really exciting that you can now do this across your projects and not just within a single project that you have on Replit.
Yeah, maybe we should talk a little bit about like why it's important. Like, first of all, maybe like what is a design system, just briefly, and why is that kind of, like something useful to have inside of Replit?
Yeah, definitely.
So what a design system is basically this shared repository of different components that you're using in your product. So it could be colors, it could be typography, it could be all of the components like buttons, progress bars, loaders, drop downs, all of these little things that make up a product. And while you're working on something with agent, you might work really hard to create this sort of visual style that you really like. But as you go deeper, you keep adding more pages, you keep building your product. It is sort of easy for agent to lose context of these small decisions that you made together and maybe diverge a little bit. So you might notice at some point, okay, some things are starting to look off. Maybe there's 3 different types of buttons. Maybe there's 2 different types of drop downs. And we really want there to be consistency in the product, especially as the product grows. And so design systems are a way to do that. So once you have a design system in place, the agent can basically use the same components rather than creating something from scratch, which is maybe slightly different. And that brings a level of cohesiveness to the product.
Yeah. I that was beautifully said. I think one thing that I would add here is to the point about what a design system is. As we were building this product, something that was difficult is first of all, the idea of a design system, especially within tech, is pretty nascent for what it's worth. I think in like the 1980s or something, IBM's design system was one of the first to really make a difference in industry, and a lot of people were looking to them and realizing that they had these like guidelines and books of how to actually design their interface. Before that, obviously, we had very much like non-tech related design systems. You can think about for magazine prints or for bookstores and I guess print specifically would have all of these guidelines on like, this is a typography, this is a visual output. I'm sure Raymar, as you went to design school, you also talked about design systems then for all the card designing and things like that you've done. But all to say, because design systems can mean such different things depending on what the thing you're designing actually is, we wanted to make sure that we could create something that was somewhat broad and composable at first, and then we can think about how do we narrow down into specific use cases that different people have. So I think I would really emphasize that this is just the beginning for design systems, and we would really love to hear your feedback to better understand how to meet your needs.
Yeah, and somebody said yesterday,
Mhm.
maybe it was Tuesday actually during the stream, they said something about like, is this just a style guide? And I think there's a difference between like a style guide and a design system, where a style guide is kind of just an overview of maybe some colors, some typography, some basic ideas for how like the brand should be applied. Whereas a style guide is really outlining the components, even some of the behavior, like how those are used in different places, spacing, other little things like that. So it's like one kind of step further. And yeah, I don't know. Are there any other details on this side of things that you want to cover, or I have like a follow up here?
No, we'll go to the follow-up.
How do you approach these things? Like when, like again, going back to somebody new, like a lot of our audience
Yeah.
is not like experienced product developers, designers, etc. So when they're thinking about this stuff, how do they like go about building a cohesive design system? Obviously, you can ask the agent to like extract something from an existing brand or from an
Yeah.
existing asset that you have. But like, let's say I'm coming creatively. How do I start thinking about my design process or approaching, like we talked about design thinking before we launched this, like on the stream. So kind of introduce the principles of design. But how do you approach that, or how would you? I'd be interested in both of your opinions here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you're coming in blank, I would just use some inspiration. Like in Replit Design, you now have this inspiration tab that Samuel and Vic talked about, and you can just pull in some reference images of things that you like. And the good thing is that you can just provide something to agent as context, and it would create a design system for you based on what you like about something versus what you don't like about something. So you can just come in blank with a few reference images of what kind of vibe or style you're looking for, and it will just help you build from there. So yeah, just enter some inspiration. Agent will ask you some follow-up questions on what you're looking for, what parts of the image you want to extract, maybe what parts you just want to be inspired from. So you can just use reference images, and you can describe your own aesthetic that you're going for, and agent can help guide you through it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, maybe to extend on top of that, I think this might be a little bit of a hot take within the designer folks, but I don't think the design system should ever inform your process of designing. It should be something that helps you. And what I mean by that is if you are starting out and you're trying to create something, I would actually say don't worry about the design system. Like, don't worry about, trying to figure out exactly what you want the typography to be, exactly how you want the components to look. Just make sure that you get to a general place where you are happy with the output, whatever it is that you are building. And then if you feel like you can now you now want to extend that, like you've built a website, you're happy with it, you have a bunch of components that you really love, and now you're going to either build a poster with a similar visual aesthetic, or you're going to build a mobile app that within the same type of brand or type of visual sort of mechanism. At that point, I would say you can now extract a design system and then apply that across your different apps. But it shouldn't be a part of your process that like hinders you, and it should be something that really aids the process itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get caught up in process very early.
Mm.
And especially like especially in the design system world, like you can over design or over index on like what this system should be before you've actually implemented it or built like the meaningful thing. So like how do you stop people from doing that? How do you know like how do you balance going and iterating and kind of creating versus trying to stay within, some kind of structure or box or thing like that?
Yeah, that was really well put, by the way, Vic. I fully agree. In design, there's something called like the double diamond process, which is sort of evolving now with um, how
AI.
much AI has changed design. But the general idea is that you expand and you explore quite a bit before you converge and start to narrow down on what you are hoping to accomplish.
Uh-huh.
And so I would say that part is still kind of similar. I would encourage people to just explore, try out a few different ideas, try a few different variations, not just in like aesthetically, but also just structurally, like what information architecture makes the most sense. What are the different layouts you could try out? What are the different visual styles that might go well with your product?
Mhm.
And I would refrain from converging too early and just making very hard decisions super early, but just encourage more exploration and ideation in the beginning. And if you don't want to go with something, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And then just, once you're feeling more confident about a direction and it feels right, that's when you start to converge and get more detailed. And that's where design systems could come into play as well. But yeah, curious to hear your take, Vic.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I would say maybe on the flip side, if you do know what you want though, like if you, I think one fun example to think about is if you have a physical brand product, let's say you sell candles, it would be it would be a fun process to be able to take photos of your physical products, and then you could upload them to Replit, and then ask Agent to create a design system for you. So that kind of process of you know exactly kind of directionally what you want already because you have something that you've already created, but it might not be exactly the form factor you want because you want to bring it into like a digital website or a mobile app, etc. I think that's where design systems really shine, especially the design systems feature within Replit, and we can help you kind of bring in your taste in a manner that is more easily, um, repeatable.
Yeah.
Another example of that is if you have an existing project maybe and you just want to follow the same visual style across a different project, like you were saying, maybe you want to create a poster now. You have a marketing website and
Yeah.
now you want to create a mobile app, and
Yeah.
you just want to follow the same guidelines so that it all feels like it's part of the same family. Again, that's where even though you're starting a new project from scratch, you don't want to start from a blank slate, and that's where design systems can come into play.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much to kind of, I think, well, to think about as you approach design. And it is this like infinite potential, right? Like
Mhm.
this is the process. Like design is like, how do you make something real? And I think a lot of people think about design as like how something looks versus how something works.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, closing thoughts. I know you have to bounce out of here.
I do, unfortunately.
So yeah, maybe, help, is help me pronounce your name. Is it
Pallavi.
Pallavi? Okay.
Pallavi, yes.
So we'll hang with Pallavi while Vic jumps out if you want.
Yeah.
We can do this. I think that. Yeah. So how do you approach as a designer? Thank you, Victoria. Thanks for joining us and for your time. And I think Francisco will pop back in here with us. But yeah. So how do you approach this? Like getting started, the blank slate problem, the, like just thinking about design generally, like how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think it depends on if I have a very strong vision in mind about what kind of product I want to build, and maybe then I would start with some, like I generally like to create a mood board of things that I like if it's a visual direction that I want to choose. And I also like to create a document of all of the features that I want to include in my product. So it's kind of a mix of both where I decide the direction of the product and then as well as the visual style. Um, for the visual style part and the component level part, if I have a project already which I just want to reference and bring that in and create more assets out of it, I think that's where I don't need a lot of mood boarding or visual exploration. I would just bring in the project. I've been using and dog fooding design systems a lot, so I've been using that quite a bit because we have Replit built inside Replit just as we prototype. And in the design team, we use our Replit prototypes in Replit. And so it's very useful to have that design system base. So yeah, it just depends on if I'm starting from a blank slate. I like to mood board, bring in some inspiration, and start the build from there. If I'm starting from this very solid visual language, then I just pull those assets in and start from there.
Do you have and just generally speaking, I'm gonna just take some time to like pick your brain as a designer. Do you have like a favorite place you go for design inspiration, or do you have like a do you ever start like what's your process like? Do you ever sketch? Do you just like create a Pinterest board? Are you collecting assets on a canvas somewhere? Like, do you create a Google Drive? Like, what? Maybe just help me. How do you collect those inspiration, or how do you find like the things you want to maybe feed the agent as that initial prompt, or to find that starting point?
Yeah, I usually love to start from like a blank slate, no inspiration. I just want to pen down my own thoughts. It is, it gets kind of overwhelming sometimes if you're just out looking for things, and then you don't have a clear vision of what you're building. So first thing I do is just have a very clear vision, maybe not visually, but at least in terms of what I want to build. And then once I have that, that's when I start looking for some other visual inspiration. One thing I've been doing is I've been going into bookstores, which is
Mm.
like a random way to find inspiration. But there's this architectural bookstore in San Francisco that I've been going to, and they have so much cool visual inspiration. So I just take pictures of them and then bring them back into my products when I'm building. I've also been such a fan of Mobbin. We have a Mobbin subscription here, and I love Mobbin. That's my primary source of actual product inspiration, and I'm really excited that it's now integrated into Replit Design, because that's actually how I got a lot of my inspiration for like product level and component level building.
Yeah. Poser Dad on X saying bookstores are the best place for inspiration and exploration. That's yeah, I agree. I think the real world is like an underserved place for inspiration. I think a lot of designers they think like, oh, I got to go to the awards website, or I got to go to Dribble, or I got to go see like what all the best designers are doing, but they don't look at like maybe the movie industry, or old historical posters, or like architecture, or different places where you might find cool inspiration for things that are designed. So I think in my mind, if you're a designer, if you're a creative person and you're looking for like where to start as, like for some inspiration, like just check out the world. Like the world has a lot of cool things just out there. And I think the hardest part is collecting those things, and like sometimes finding like if you find a building to be like architecturally inspiring to your design, like how do you then capture that, right? So like
Yeah.
going to Dribble is easy because there's like a screenshot and you can like grab that and put it in a folder somewhere, and like now you have the design inspo. But like anyway, yeah, going out into the real world and getting those inspiration. Let's see, Francisco is back in the game here. And what I'm wondering, what we should do is, should we look at some of the folks' projects and the things people have shared, and maybe like pull up examples from the community?
Yeah, awesome.
Okay,
Let's do
let's see. Exploring Replit Design. We do it live here, folks. Design examples from the community. Boom. Lower third. I saw somebody reference actually that they saw a live lower third just a second ago. Yeah. Also built in Replit, the lower thirds, the whole graphics package here that we're using is a Replit built native app also. Okay, so let's do this. I need to go to screenshot. There we go to this scene right here. Okay, so we're gonna go through. We asked you all on Tuesday to kind of share and make posts about things that you're building. So we got a bunch of social posts here up at the top of the screen, and we're just gonna spend a little bit of time going through this. And I just saw Devin pop in the back. So yeah, Devin, while we're doing this, we'll go ahead and try to bring you in also so we can get your thoughts on this. But yeah, let's take a look. Mark is saying here, I think this came from, we talked about an inspiration like to go and create something for somebody that exists and rebuild their site. So I think this is like an attempt at that Mark created here. Any thoughts, Pallavi, on just this general design? It feels a little heavy for me, a little text heavy, and it's got a little bit of that vibe code purple in here. But what are your general thoughts on this design output here? I know it's kind of like just throwing you into the mix with not a lot of context, but
No, this is cool. I'd be curious what the product is here exactly. Maybe that's what's missing immediately when I look at this. Like, generally, when you look at something, it should be very clear in the first 5 to 10 seconds, what is this about? And maybe that's what's missing here slightly. Maybe that needs like a hero image or some kind of, like you were saying, Remar, maybe there's too much text. It could be compacted a little bit more to make the value really clear, or at least inviting you into scrolling down further and learning what the product is about. But I do think they got like the general aesthetic to be a really clean, minimal sort of template, which is great. It also has purple, but I don't think it's like the AI slop purple, which is like this gradient that fades into pink and like a lighter purple. So I think that part is all right. I do like how they've experimented with the different colors.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one thing I would say on this one that's probably context from the stream. We talked about like cold calling somebody. Basically, like instead of just saying, "Hey, I want to do design work for you," it's like design something for them and then send them the thing, right? Because then you could get their attention with like the assets. So I think that's what this was intended to be for. So I would just say like make sure the thing you create like represents their brand nicely if you're going to do that and kind of captures what it is they're doing. So that would be my other thought is like maybe Mark, if you have other context you can bring in from their existing site or, you know, like screenshots or other content, you might want to bring that in to help make the pitch. And yeah, I think that's a nice little shot there. Vito and oh, you know what? Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on this one, and then I'm gonna I forgot I got Devin in the back. We're gonna pull him in here too. So this is another kind of portfolio type thing. This looks almost like a print type setup here. Tried the new Replit Design, single prompt model, cost, result, ready to use brochure template, rating 5 out of 5. So Vito Smolensky sharing not a digital asset, like some kind of graphical asset.
Yeah, this is really cool. I think especially for a one shot, I'm sure you had a good prompt as well, but it's a pretty good output. Given it's a brochure, maybe the backside or like the inside could be a little less text heavy as well. But I do think they've done a pretty good job in creating an engaging front page. The fonts that you've chosen with the italics in the threshold, that's very in right now as well. So you would see that across a lot of newer products. I think it's like modern, it's clean. Yeah, it's done a good job. What do you think, Francisco?
Yeah, no, I think it looks fantastic. It does look like an actual brochure. I think it's one of those things where even like the off white, I really appreciate, so I can feel myself kind of opening that in like a physical world. It would translate very nicely.
Yeah. Hey, and then we got Devin joining us also, who is part of the Replit Design team. And yeah, you want to introduce yourself real quick and maybe just say hi to the crowd?
Yeah, hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Devin. Nice to be here. Yeah, I'm part of the team that built Replit Design, and I'm kind of part of the effort in prompting how the agent actually approaches design. So the piece of our product that I kind of spend the most of my time on is like the stuff before the pixels. Like, what does the product need to do? Like, what are the choices that actually matter when you're deep in the design process? Like, what actually defines a good design output, and how do we help sort of direct you toward those things with our ambient intelligence feature?
Nice. Okay. Well, welcome to the stream. We are reviewing some community submissions from Replit Design. So this is like a brochure design, the first thing we're kind of looking at here. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Vito's submission.
Yeah, this is cool. One thing that we talk about a lot when we're kind of like thinking about how to direct agents and direct models to do design work is like there's a particular style that they're sort of trained on, and we call that like the in distribution style. It's like it's like right in line with all of the training data. And I feel like you can see little signs of that here, like picking out the sort of like serif fonts, the little like fine-grained horizontal lines and dividers, very like rigid rectangular sort of like corners. So I always encourage people, when you get your first result from the agent, if you're doing like a one-shot prompt, like start reacting to it and literally just narrate your reactions, every little detail you see, like right into the chat input. If you're using like Whisperflow or something, it's always fun to be able to actually like narrate vocally too. And then you can start sort of steering the designs into something that feels a little bit more personalized and a little bit more tailored to like your own taste.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to kind of hone in on. Maybe as we look at the next one, let's jump to the next one. Alva here, who's super active in the community. Is this a video? Okay, nice. So created a little video here. Yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about getting some customized stuff out of the agent as we go, because I like that line of thinking, Devin. Sometimes, the agent will give you something, but maybe you don't want that exactly. So talking through, I like the idea. We call it yap mode, where we just turn on, the audio and just start, kind of blabbering instructions to the agent. Maybe some tips on how to get, design, like good design from your prompts that would be like useful for folks as we kind of review these things, or kind of look at this is Alva's submission here, so we're happy to share thoughts on that. But might also be good to kind of help people think through, their prompting for design.
Yeah, 100%. First of all, this video looks really cool. I think just like the sequencing and like the way it's transitioning between all the different kind of frames seems pretty elegant. I'm not sure if this was like one shot or if there was a lot of additional prompting here, but it sort of looks as though there was like a few rounds of prompting and refinements. So if it was one shot, then like awesome job with your initial prompt.
Yeah, Alva, if you're in the crowd watching, like let us know in the chat, if you're here. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Roast me gently, she says.
Roast you gently. No, I don't think there's anything to roast. I like all of this. I think the color's cool. Like I like the type treatments. I think maybe one thing that you can do is like try to freeze on a couple of these frames for like a couple of more seconds, so that like when there's a lot of text on an individual frame, you can just like rest and kind of like read everything and absorb all the information on the page.
Yeah, I agree with you, Devin.
What do you think, Pallavi?
I think it's pretty cool. I like the textured backgrounds that have been added as well. It feels like it's more intentional than like a first output. I think something that you mentioned really resonated, which is how to guide agents to not maybe reuse the same patterns that are most common out there. And one of the patterns I see here maybe is the animation style, which can be a little harder to tune to what you want. But the way the text is like fading in, I think that could use some refinement, and it could use some more personality. And because it's kind of the default style that agents tend to go towards, this kind of fade in with a slight bounce. I always prompt to not add bounce animations. That's my trick to getting smoother looking animations. But this is really cool overall.
Yeah, I think this goes back to a point we bring up all the time, that learning the language is really the big value add here, right? Like same thing on the technical side of Replit. Like you don't necessarily need to know how to write the code, but if you know to ask about information architecture, or if you know to ask about a specific technical thing, you can usually get a little better like output from the agent. And I think as you think about prompting, it's probably the same way, right? Like you said, do people even know what a bounce is, right? And so you need to know that this is like an animation effect, or this is like an easing pattern, or that this is something that you use in this type of thing. And learning how to say that or to ask for that, I think is probably one of the best ways to get a better output. Do you have any thoughts on shaping that prompt, or learning design language, or how to speak to this stuff, Pallavi or Devin?
I can chime in a little bit here, and I'm curious, Pallavi, sort of like what your process looks like too. As far as using Replit in general goes, and the Replit Design tool, something that's kind of interesting is that we try to train our agent to like automatically start thinking about what are those aspects of your design that actually need to be optimized. So if you're making an animation and you do another round of revisions on top of what you've already created, the agent might try automatically to sort of look at the pacing, or look at some of the animations or the transitions or easing, things like that. And it will use that technical nomenclature on its own, because it helps with the performance of its own thinking about the design problem. But it will sort of try to speak to you in more sort of like common language, so that you don't necessarily have to learn that vocabulary. We're still sort of tuning how good it is at doing this way of thinking. But one tip you can use is explicitly ask the agent to use a skill called the design exploration skill. You can literally just type that into your prompt. And what that will do is tell the agent to basically zoom out and like look at all of the constraints involved in the problem, and sort of try to understand your intention as the designer. And then it will try to optimize like really specific aspects of that design for you. Our ambient intelligence feature as well does this automatically. So like each of the individual 4 prompts that it gives you is trying to optimize a specific part of your prompt that the agent feels might be underdeveloped.
Yeah, that's I like the idea of telling it kind of explicitly and exposing some of those skills. Pallavi, any other thoughts about prompting or little tips to get the most out of the AI when you're doing this type of stuff?
Yeah, Devin, I agree with you. I use that skill all the time, by the way. Thanks for creating it. But one more thing that I do sometimes is just having agent add a control panel for me on the like right side or the left side. And it automatically creates these different like values, like Devin was saying, easing or bounce level and things like that. And that can give you a sense of how these different animation techniques work. So you can just play with the slider and increase the bounce and see what that feels like. And you could play with another slider and decrease the easing. And I think that helps build more of an animation vocabulary, which is not necessary by any means. But if you want to create more and more videos, you might need a little bit more insight into how things work and how you can get that granular level of control. So you could temporarily add this kind of panel for yourself and then remove it later when you feel like you're in a good place.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like something Andrew Blumson talked about when he was talking about developing games, is having like a little control panel for the physics engine in your game, or
Exactly.
like so asking the agent to build you like a backstage cheat code where you can kind of play with some of those values that may be just like hard coded into the design, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A big thank you to Alva for submitting this. Also, I saw in the comments that it was a one prompt shot, so pretty
Wow.
impressive to see how far it came.
Okay. Wow.
That's
All
pretty
right.
cool. I'd love to see the prompt someday.
Send
Is
the
it in the
prompt,
post?
Alva.
Yeah,
Send the
yeah, show the
prompt.
prompt.
Yeah. Let's see. Applying the design thinker skill right now. My website refresh. Right on. Yeah. Can you share a screenshot of your control panel, Pallavi? We can't share that today because we don't have. She doesn't have her setup here, and we don't have it pulled up. But I think if you just ask the agent, you know, it might depend based on what you're controlling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on if it's for a slide. You can even do it for like websites, and we do it all the time for prototyping when we want to show different use cases. We create a little control panel where you can switch back and forth between different types of design explorations. So you could do the same for any artifact, and it would just like agent would help you build it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Just ask the agent. It should be like we should just have shirts, you know, just ask the agent. All right, let's pull up the next design here and see what we're doing, what we're looking at. Hold up here. Let me click this thing and then this thing. So what do we have? Oh, Noni in the crowd here, who's probably in the chat with us. But let's take a look. Yeah, bamboo. A little parallax design here. Looks like some kind of input form. It's following the cursor, so it's kind of responding to the cursor. Yeah, any thoughts here for first thoughts? We'll go to Pallavi.
One thing I'll say, sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
Francisco, yeah.
It reminds me of Glitch. I don't know if anyone remembers. This might be a very old school thing, but Glitch was a video game that was created before Slack. And it reminds me of that kind of art style, which I was a huge fan of. So yeah, big fan of just how it looks like, the look and feel. Of course, I love anything that kind of has like a following the cursor and, you know, not too much of a like moving around, but just enough to kind of like capture attention. I'm always a big fan of.
Yeah, this is really cool. I like the sort of 3D effect that this gives, and it also encourages me to explore more. Like I'm not sure what this is yet, but it tells me that I need to enter my name and dive into it. Like a very small nit, if I have one, is maybe the direction the trees are moving in compared to the movement of the cursor is like the opposite. So maybe there's some fine tuning there where how could it respond to the cursor in a way which feels more like natural, like you're either dragging it around or like it's reacting to the cursor in a more natural way. But this is really cool. What do you think, Devin?
I actually really like the movement. Maybe this is like controversial. I like the kind of parallax effect. I feel like if I'm moving around a tree in real life, like I feel like I would see the background kind of moving in a different direction. But maybe my like understanding of reality is is wrong. I'm kind of questioning things now that we're in this world of AI. I love this. I think it's sick. I really like the way the really like heavy bamboo text also sort of very occasionally goes behind the bamboo tree or like treehouse, whatever that is. I feel like I want to like log in and like see whatever story I'm about to be told.
Yeah, I'm gonna just for Vertigo in the comments, we're gonna like zoom out of the looping animation. Yeah, this is a cool vibe. I think my nitpick would be on the typography a little bit. The green kind of gets lost here, And then I never like a 2-line button. You know, the button is taller than the text input fields. So I would say, like, you know, have the, you know, don't wrap the text on the button, and make sure that the, you know, the button submit and the form fields are all kind of like the same height. If I was just being nuanced about like the design and, like, you know, making it nice. And also, like like you said, the effect on the back end, I like the parallax effect, but I think you could probably push the layers a little more and kind of get yeah, a little edgier with that. But nice job, Noni. Any other thoughts on this one before we jump to the next one?
This is so cool.
Is that a seagull? Nice. Yeah, KG saying, looks so good though. The ambient floating leaves and birds help with the death. Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool to see your prompts. Share your prompts in the chat or in Discord, or yeah, maybe next time when we collect these, we'll have to ask folks for their opening prompt.
That'd be cool.
That
Yeah,
would be
I
like, yeah,
that.
we should for sure ask folks for their, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Got it,
I
Rymar.
personally struggle to get outputs like this, where it's like a lot of really heavy asset production, and then all the assets actually have to come together into an experience. Yeah, it's tricky. This is cool.
Yeah, somebody who does that really well was Guillaume Kim.
Yeah,
Oh
Guillaume.
my goodness, his talk from VibeCon. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch his talk. I'll see if maybe I can pull up a link while we're reviewing this next one. So we're going to go to Erin here. She's got a video here, souled.tech. Looks like it's another animated video, but he created all these assets. Let me go see if I can find the talk, because it's just so good. But yeah, creating 3D assets, bring them together. Like, yeah, I don't even know how you guys start some of this stuff. So, okay, Erin, yeah, your design here. Maybe you're in the chat. Oh, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning for her, I think. So maybe she's not in the chat.
No, she's in the chat.
She's in the chat.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron,
cool.
great to see you.
Nice.
All right, there he is. Yep, Erin, there you are. Yep, prompt party. Okay, yeah. So we got another animated video here. Any thoughts?
I'm just waiting for it to loop.
Yeah. Soul Ed Tech, your digital infrastructure. Yeah, Erin, let us
That's
know in the
cool.
chat what your what's the intended outcome here. But yeah, maybe Devin or Pallavi, any thoughts?
Well, my first thought is I remember the feedback I gave on the last video we saw was like pause for a little while on some of the key frames so that you can like read everything that's coming at you. I think this starts to do a good job at that, but in a couple of places almost slows down a little bit too much. Like if you keep up a little bit of pacing, like as those bullet points come in, and maybe even contrary to what Pallavi was saying before, like adding a little bit of a bounce or something as each bullet point enters, like could just help add some energy to it. Although if the intention is to be very kind of like somber and a little bit more serious, I think this sets the tone like perfectly. What do you think, Pallavi?
Yeah, I think the storytelling is pretty cool. Like you have the flow of the video laid out pretty well. One thing that could help is just adding some more visual interest, because right now it reads a little bit more like a slide deck that you're moving through. So some kind of visual asset, maybe it's like a logo or just some images of people using the product, how it could work, would be a nice like visual interest piece here.
It sounds like she did a little bit more in the comments on animation. So it looks like there's an updated version out there we'd love to check out. And it actually is her business. So yeah, very, very cool to kind of see come together.
Oh, amazing.
Here we go. Let's see the feed if we find it. Oh, she's got a bunch of posts here. Let's see. Playing with some music for my new okay. Designathon, yeah. Designathon. Oh, what are you talking about? I don't know anything about that, huh? All right, Erin, thanks for being active in the community and sharing your work with us. We'll go over to Nadia here, who also put together a little video about her landing page getting a glow up. So this is modal education, and she's one of our Buildathon winners. She took home the grand prize on the 10-year Replit Buildathon, and looks like just reskinned the whole website here using Replit Design. So shout out to Nadia for that. Maybe Nadia, let us know in the chat what that process was like. Yeah, and it's going to be hard to explore this one deeply. But we can just obviously kind of see some of the stuff in the video in the background here.
Wow, there's a 3D assistant on the right. That's so cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I did not notice that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought it was just like a static illustration at first.
Yeah, and I think a lot of her work revolves around working with deaf students and kind of visual and signing and different things like that. So yeah, lots of visual opportunities to explore here, and yeah, so much to do. Like I just think about creating a site like this. I come from like the web design / build website world, and like creating these types of things can be quite the chore to get this looking nice and working properly. So yeah, any other general thoughts on this before we move on?
It's like the visual aspect of it. I know like her audience is, folks hard of hearing. So I think it's really cool how there's a lot of visuals in everything that she's kind of working through. Also that she just, took a shot immediately with new design mode and kind of dove in and, redid her entire website and did it so quickly is also very impressive. I know she mentioned that she has a new one, a new demo that she just submitted in the chat, but yeah, I think overall in the 3D animation, I did not catch that the first time. That's very, very cool. So a big fan of kind of seeing that.
Yeah.
I agree. This
I
is
also-
awesome. Go for
Sorry,
it, Devin.
Pallavi. No, you go.
No, I was just echoing Francisco's thoughts. It's awesome. I like the 3D animation for there was another one on the page which I really liked. This breaks up like visual and text in a really clear way. It's not super text heavy. It does a good job of communicating what the product does. So yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, that would be one thing I will say. Be careful with the agent on these things is like the text. Like when you're designing stuff, show me. Don't, like bring me in, suck me in. And you do that with visuals. You don't do that with text. Like almost never do you see something that's like saturated with text and you're like, oh, let me dive in, unless it's a book. Right. And we did talk about bookstores being like great space for inspiration. But almost always when you see beautiful designs, it is not text, right? Like typography is it's a whole different thing to try to design, and like that's a whole art in and of itself. And I would say if there's one place where the agents are not that strong right now, it would be typography. Like if I had to pick one thing that like agents don't really, unless you give it good guidance. And so I find that typically like the first output from agent is usually a little text heavy, and I have to go in and want to like tighten that up. Like maybe have sections that expand to show more text or, less bullets or stuff like that. So I don't know. That would be my general, like if giving one thing, like as I'm looking through this, it does feel slightly text heavy. But generally it's got a nice aesthetic to it. And so that would be my, like, it's something I find myself often correcting the agent or asking it to like do, or going in and kind of like manually touching afterwards. So for whatever that's worth, folks that are out there. Okay. Ruth, again, another super active community participant, mobile build-a-thon winner, Jellyfish.
MSNBC, guest.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Good to see you, Ruth.
Okay, so imprint, Jellyfish happening back here. Devin, what are you thinking?
This is so cool. It's just so like atmospheric. I almost wish that the jellyfish, like maybe there were more of them, or like they were a little bit more kind of like floating about the whole surface area of the page. But I'm also just, as you're scrolling, noticing that there's like some parallax happening. Like they move kind of up the to the top of the ocean as you scroll, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think there could be some variation maybe between the layout of these sections. Like one technique I often try to do is just like flip the layout section by section. So if you have like your headline on the left and your primary supporting text on the right in the first section, just swap them in the next section. It just adds like just enough visual interest that keeps you wanting to scroll down.
Yeah. I'm going to go to her profile because I believe there's probably more designs that she's, let's see. Oh, who knows what we're going to run into here. Okay. I thought maybe there was like updated versions that we could look at here, but maybe not. Pallavi, any thoughts? I think my initial thought would be to smooth this out a little bit. It feels like, ask the agent to smooth out, like jellyfish are very organic, and this feels almost like a little mechanical, the movement. So I would ask the agent to like, hey, can we soften this? Can we make it a little more organic, a little more fluid? And Devin, I like what you said, maybe a little bit more variety in the, or density of the floating of the jellyfish. But Pallavi, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Nothing additional to add, but this is a very cool concept.
Yeah.
Like having the jellyfish iridescent in the background, it's really interesting. I might also play around with the header typography a little bit more. It's such a fun concept. Maybe it could be more fun as well.
Somebody's saying I thought they were umbrellas. Nice.
It looks like Ruth is in the chat. She mentioned that didn't want to add too many jellyfish because she thought it might slow things down a little bit. But anyways, I think I love how dark it is. The jellyfish are also a little bit blending in, but without with their little pop of color. So yeah, big fan.
Also, hi Ruth. I think we spoke briefly on email once, but it's good to see your work.
Nice. Okay, nice. Well done, Ruth. And I think Ruth did another one that was like koi fish too, or something like that.
I remember that.
So yeah, and yeah, anyway. Okay, Noni again, I think just sharing some of your process here. So it's cool to see folks exploring the canvas and sharing that with us. Deirdre, let's see. In this week's episode of Which Apps Did Replit Replace? Okay, throwing shade at the competition. Yeah, and is this, let's see, included a video with people watching, core values. Okay. Yeah. So creating some assets on the website and different things for what she's building there. So kind of, speaking to the versatility and power it's giving. Any thoughts generally, I think, on this asset here?
It's pretty concise. Has everything in one place, which is good. All the information you need and kind of where to go next. So definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. This is fairly simple. Devin or Pallavi, any thoughts here that before we move on to the next one?
I was just going to add, this looks super professional. Just since we were talking about typography a second ago, one tip that I always give, there's like different types of quotation marks. There's like straight quotation marks that you're looking at now. And there's like little curly ones that you might see if you're using like more of a serif font or like in more of an editorial setting. I think like the default typographic standard is to use those curly ones when you're in a more formal context like this. So it might be worth asking the agent to swap those straight quotes to curly quotes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I even like some spacing here, there's like there's some line spacing on the heading that's a little tall. Those lines could be put together. You're getting nitty gritty on the typography stuff again, but yeah, no, this looks very professional. I don't have any other notes. Any other thoughts here?
No, this is great. It does look very professional.
Okay, let's see. 5 study to ensure content credibility. I've created a benchmarking site. Okay, so some kind of benchmarking site, some kind of monitoring the situation here. Looks like agent generated graphics. I don't know if this is connected to a real data source or, let's check it out. 5 bench. The actual link is live here. Okay, what is this actually doing? All right, so it looks like we've got some kind of dashboard here that's mapping different model performance, AI model performance. Okay.
This is so cool. I've seen a lot of resources like this for benchmarking agents across different tasks, but I don't think it looks like this one is specifically for like study related tasks. And I don't think I've seen one for this. Seems like much needed. I wish I had this when I was like in college. I wish I had language models period when I was in college.
Yeah. Would have been nice.
Yeah, it's so detailed too.
Yeah, there's a lot here to look at. I'm not. I think that would be the same advice or the same critique you gave earlier, Pallavi, is like, I'm not immediately sure how to use this or what this is useful for me, which I think is part of the design, is like that initial phase, like immediately kind of let me know, is this for me, what I'm supposed to be doing? So AI models ranked as study tools, I would probably like prioritize that. Like maybe you could probably make that like 2 or 3 times bigger and just really like give me a big fat headline here. I don't know, any other visual cues, the sidebar opening up. I would even say maybe some of this stuff could be a little more interactive. Instead of having a separate side panel, it would be cool to see one that like adapts every time I click through. So maybe let me click through and just see this one panel kind of adapt rather than giving me a new panel every time I click. But there may be some use case there that like I need a separate panel. So I don't know what the actual like usage is, but this seems like something that could be super interactive to me. So I would probably push the agent a little further and say, hey, how can we take this and, like maybe make it a little more dynamic rather than just like static graphs. I don't know any thoughts on that, but that's just kind of like my gut shot as I was looking through this for the first time.
Yeah, I like that. I also like the high level visual on the like dashboard homepage where you can see just at a glance which model is performing better than the other. I would love to see what's actually included in this benchmark. Maybe there's a separate page for that or something, but how you are benchmarking these models is something I'd be interested in if I was using this as a student.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe how each of these views is helpful for me. I think that would also like the about the methodology and like what are we comparing here? Like why is one different than the other would be helpful at some like almost immediate, like just immediately obvious to me as I'm clicking through, like this just changed or this is what's different between these two benchmarks or something like that. Yeah.
I just like the way it looks, honestly. It makes me want to like dig in and play with every little, slider and see what's there. So very much monitoring the situation.
Monitoring the situation.
Tight.
Yeah. Okay. Devin, did you have any thoughts on that before we move on?
I have one. I feel like I'm really on the typography train today because of your comment about agents being sort of like less good at typography out of all the given design tasks, which I think is kind of true. One thing when you're designing like really information heavy kind of like dashboard pages like this is to think about space efficiency, like how well are you using space, how much white space are you able to create so that your eye can actually focus on the information that you care about. Now, one thing to note about the type here is that you're using like a monospace typeface, which means all of the characters in that face, every single letter is the exact same width, regardless of like whether it makes sense for it to be or not. And that's actually one of the least space efficient kind of typefaces. So it might be worth considering here adding a second font, maybe like a sans serif font that has some more variation between the letter widths, and using that outside of these data tables. So like some of the big headlines or some of the longer running text might benefit from that. It should add some more visual texture to the UI too.
Yeah. All good feedback. I think, and it's one of those things where it's just very subjective. We don't know what this thing does, but yeah. Hopefully you can take that and make some tweaks, learn a little something. We'll move on to the next one here. Andrew Blumson in the house. Released a new design model. Let's see, what did we build? We got a little video here, so let's just drag that all the way back to the beginning. Let's pause the audio, sorry. Had to learn it first. Ooh, a little 3D animation. Andrew does a lot of these like physics engine, game engine. Is this like a scrolling site that's happening here? Or is this, I'm trying to imagine if this is like a video output that he recorded. Is this an animation or is this like a scroll jacking type thing that's happening on scroll? It looks like it might be like a scrolling website here, right?
Kind of does look like that, yeah.
Yeah, right. It looks like he's screen recording a scroll.
It's pretty cool transitioning from that like crazy 3D animation down to this like 2D normal website.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know like were all these assets created in Replit? Like are these videos created in Replit? The transitions, the 3D assets. I mean, knowing Andrew, like his approach to some of this stuff.
Yeah, it does feel like a mix of different types of assets added into the website. One thing I might like to see here is maybe some more cohesion in the types of assets used. Like there's imagery, there's 3D assets, there's real world videos, there's some like AI generated with the water and the droplets, and they all look great individually as well. But maybe all of those don't need to be combined in the same space. I like some like mix and match. Maybe you have 2D assets and some 3D, but then mixing a lot of different types of videos could feel like it's not cohesive or part of the same product. But this is so cool. Yeah, like so much to unpack here.
I got a DM from Andrew. I think it was either this morning or last night. He's like, sorry, I was really busy. Didn't have a chance to play design mode. And I created this and I just wanted to like play with every aspect of it and just kind of put it into one and then just have fun with it. So I really appreciate just, it's Andrew. It's always kind of trying to push the limit on what's available with like animation, what's available with kind of transitions, and of course, the physics side of things. So it's cool to just see him have fun and kind of put it all into one.
Oh yeah, if that was the intent, then this is so cool. I mean, I didn't know we could do all of this with Agent. So yeah, the fact that you got so many different outputs out of it is incredible.
This part right here speaks to me a little bit. And it's kind of like, I think, like if we look on the left, it's like got a little bit of the style guide that maybe he's adjusting, or I don't know what's happening here. but this is cool to see like a couple different versions. So as you scroll, it's changing the design, so scrolling through the different concepts. Seems like a fun thing to me, like to be able to create the, you talked about the control panel. So it looks like maybe there's like a little control panel there that he's controlling some of the design with. This is who we talked about creating some of those assets where he had the physics engine with the sliders and different things like that. So yeah, interesting to look at the creative process here. Trying to put it together as a full story. So bringing the brand in, changing the game. Again, is this going to win what am I thinking of? Like a film festival award? I don't know, but like you created it in Replit and it's like showing, like you said, a bunch of the different use cases here. But I think Pallavi, what you talked about is like the taste is tying the things together, right? It's like the colors match here a little bit, but there's just a little bit of inconsistency that I think you could tighten up with, if you were trying to make this like a design forward thing rather than like it looks like just an experiment from Andrew, which
Yeah, or I would just really lean into the fact that I'm showcasing all of these different types of things that can be made, and then it would be a very intentional way of showing that these are all the different styles.
Yeah, he's even saying here in the post, this website's just a showcase for the new Replit design mode. I would never have thought of building something like this in the past, but the tools nowadays allow much more creative freedom, even for people like me that struggle with creative thinking. Little showcase I built, half an hour and a few dollars. Imagine what you could build with a proper planning, good team in a few weeks.
Half an hour, wow.
Yeah, also struggling with creative thinking, Andrew. I don't know. I've seen some very creative outputs from your side, so it's it's just another one.
That's where I think a lot of people might see this stuff. They might see some of these outputs and they think like, oh, that's not great design, or oh, that's not like hitting the caliber of what I want. Well, like this is, again, it's just an example. It's an entry point. It's one of those like early phase moments where it's like, if you spend some time, if you refine, if you go through, again, like looking at this, like radio experience here, like this is pretty polished, so like if you spend a little bit more time, if you take it to the next level, you can for sure find that next layer of, like of polish and refinement on here, which I think is a good point that Andrew's making. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I think that's the end of our curated examples here from the community. And let's see, we've got about 15, 18 minutes. Maybe we just spend the rest of the time chatting with the comments or riffing on a little design conversation here from the crew. But yeah, Pallavi, Devin, any thoughts on just generally design, Replit design thoughts, what we've seen from the community here, what you're excited about as this thing evolves, as this product evolves? We'll wind down with that, and then we'll pull in comments and just chat with the folks to wrap up here.
One quick thing I'll just say is huge thanks to everyone who submitted these. We really appreciate it. And like internally, we have like a chat that we're always kind of going through all of your submissions and just the different things that you're building. I think Manny put together like a big chunk of this list yesterday. It was just from tagging us. So please continue to share with us. We are always like huge fans of just seeing what's possible. I mean, even during this kind of like little dive into it, a lot of us were impressed with what you can do with the amount of time or just the one prompt shots and everything else in between. So really appreciate the community kind of exploring those new features, showcasing what's out there. And as always, one of the things that Manny and Rymar always kind of encourage you to do is build in public. Like it's always good to kind of get your ideas out there. It's the best way to learn. And again, appreciate everyone being okay with the impromptu, feedback session. I don't know if that was the intention for all of us who submitted, but thank you. It's just fun to be able to kind of go through, with the team here. But with that, I'll pass it back over.
Yeah, folks are loving this. I mean, it's cool to see. Pallavi?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us for one. It was really cool to see everyone's submissions. I think one cool part about working at Replit in general is you think people would use the tool in a certain way, and then you get so surprised by the amazingly creative outputs that you actually end up seeing. And you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought it could be used this way. And so it's so inspiring and just wonderful to see all of the stuff that you all have been building. And we would love to continue hearing feedback and making improvements for you all. So thanks for the submissions.
Yeah. So you roast us internally. That's right.
I think we just get stoked. Don't worry. We mainly just check out, see what's out there and what's possible. I remember one of my favorite memories here was when we did the mobile build-a-thon. And it was like the final, I don't know, it was like 50 final submissions. And I remember Rymar was like, okay, I can only do so much here because like I know these people and I don't want to like, push the scale in any direction. And we went through the entire team. There's so many of the folks that had volunteered. Were in here for the mobile launch, and we're kind of going through the applications. I remember like the last top 3, I think, is where we were really having a hard time. And I remember Ruth, who ended up being the winner, like everyone just got together in a room and we're going through everything. Before we knew it, everyone was just so sucked into this, like, you know, the game that you'd created. So, you know, it's less of a roast session and more just inspiration and kind of just excitement to see what's possible with the Replit tool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks as everyone. Yeah. Let's see. That's how I felt at VibeCon. I think VibeCon is going to be something we look back at this moment where it was like this planted flag of like, hey, I know you think that AI is this one thing, creatives, but it's actually this other thing. And we talked about it a little bit with Samuel and Victoria at the beginning of the show, that it's like this moment to just amplify your creative skill set, not to like let it replace your creative skill set. And for me, that's like kind of, we're going to look back at, you know, VibeCon, this moment kind of being this, I think the starting point for what will look like a creative renaissance, like a builder renaissance, an online digital creator renaissance of like things that people are going to build over the next couple years. I don't think we have any real idea of like what people are sitting at home right now with these tools at their disposal now, the ideas, thoughts, things that have been locked inside of them that they're going to be able to like release into the world. You know, a lot of people talk about where's the ROI, where's the thing, where's the big business, where's the stuff, and it's like, they're building it right now, right? Like those things are going to start breaking through the surface here in the next few months, I think. And the steamrolling that the snowball that's coming. Again, it's hard to see it now, but I think like, you know, you can feel it. You can start seeing signs of some of this. And again, VibeCon, I think we'll look back at some of that, this type of moment, this whole era, this 6 months, 8 months, year that's coming. I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Devin, Pallavi, Francisco?
Yeah, I just want to say like it's been pretty incredible to see how wide a range of work has been created with Replit Design so far, and similarly, like on the note of VibeCon, one thing that I left VibeCon feeling, and we also sort of think about designing for AI this way at Replit on our own design team, is that like AI, like the actual models or like agents that wrap around these models, are a new kind of like raw material that we get to shape. Like you can think about it almost like sculpture if you're working with like clay or you're like woodworking. Like there's like really specific properties of those materials. There's a grain to it that you don't want to work against. There's different materials you can bend in different ways, or if you apply heat, they behave in different interesting ways. So like as you're using models, especially over the next couple of years, like think about all the interesting properties they might have and like how you can bend them, how you can break them, how you can like remix them, plug them together in interesting ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where we're in the era of invention being connecting these dots, these disparate dots that exist all around us, data, right, that live in all these different silos. And we make the analogy of like, I've made this analogy before about the printing press, and like the printing press was like this moment where everyone looks back and it's like, oh yeah, that changed everything. But there was like a lot of things that happened that allowed the printing press to kind of play out, you know, inventions in ink technology, glasses, paper, production at scale. Like there's all these different things. And we're kind of in that moment now where like the browser's good enough. I won't say there's enough compute, but the models are getting good enough, right? We're short on compute. But like there's all these different integrations and APIs and connectors and resources, and you can just pull all these things together. So I think like the next layer of invention, what I think you all are going to start building and what's going to break out of the surface is folks with that dedicated, specialized knowledge that are just going to start building these things that like nobody sees. Like people just don't see these holes in the market just yet, right? For the most part, invention, tools, products, software has come from Silicon Valley, from New York, from London, from like these big hubs. Now it's going to start coming from surface level, from the educator, from the plumber, from the homeschool teacher, from, you know, the secretary at school that like just thinks, oh, this system should work better. And so I think like we're just entering this era where like unparalleled, unprecedented creative opportunity sits at all of our fingertips. And I've joked about like, you know, we have these metal boxes on our desk that you can touch and money fills your bank account. And we're just starting to enter that era. Like I've been excited about building on the web and building digital products for a long time. But I think we've just opened the doors on that. So I'll get off my soapbox a little bit and let somebody else jump in if they have thoughts on that. But yeah, it's a very interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, design is like in its infancy. Like people have been like designing things, you know, for a very, very, very long time. but like it wasn't called design. It was just kind of like living life. Like you need a vessel to hold water. You need, you know, a tool to drive a nail. Like you have to design those things. But like this actual like thing of like design being an industry and like a thing that you can learn and like a skill that you can really hone is like super brand new. And like honestly, none of us really know where that's going to go or like what that actually means. So I think it's so cool that anybody now can really contribute into that vision and sort of like define like what all of this will mean when we look back on it many years in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if you're out there thinking like, oh, this design stuff's not that great, like think about AI video generation, like the Will Smith videos trying to eat spaghetti, like the first versions of those, or like the first ChatGPT images where the hands were like, you know, this, you know, and then you're like, oh, that's just trash. That's the slot. And now you look at the image and you're like, oh my God, like that's an AI generated thing. Right. And so like, I think if there's any hesitation in your mind about like the quality of this stuff or where this is headed, like the idea is just like, this is the worst it's ever going to be. And we're seeing like really beautiful things. And so what does the next layer of that look like? So maybe we'll just wrap up with that from the audience too. If you think like, what's the next layer of this thing look like? You know, we'll close that. We'll just go round table, like closing thoughts. Like, what do you think the next layer of this thing looks like? And also in the audience, if you're watching and you have ideas about like, you know, where does this go? How are you going to use this? How do you feel like you can implement this in the world around you? Like, yeah, share your thoughts in the comments and we'll go all around the horn here. Francisco, I'll kick it off to you first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like even just going to the examples today, I'm already shocked at what's possible, right? Like, so even the jellyfish animation. I remember, again, I've been in tech for some time. I started kind of, you know, dabbling into it in 2011. And I remember when it was just like a one scrolling website, that was like mind blowing. Like, oh, how do they do this? How do they put this together? And you had an animation, and it was like, you know, they would be interviewing these designers who like was able to put an animation in the back end and have it scroll, you know, smoothly. So the fact that people are getting this in one prompt with $3, it's just absolutely mind blowing. And I think to me, it's just kind of like you're saying, Raymar, is like, what comes next is very exciting to me. I think it unlocks a lot for everyday builders. I used to work at a company called Startup Grind. And one of the things that Derek Anderson, founder, would say is that Silicon Valley does not have a monopoly on talent. Like it's not like Silicon Valley is the center of the universe. And like I think with the internet, with all these different tools, and especially now with AI, it just kind of leverages the playing field more and more and more. And we're seeing that, you know, the cost of some of these models are going down. It's becoming a little bit more accessible. And I think with time, I hope that it continues to kind of follow that path and that trajectory where people are going to have access to this technology that is so powerful that they're going to be able to do things you can only dream of. We're already seeing it, right? And in so many different variations. But I joined Replit about a year ago. And I remember when people had asked me, like, hey, do you recommend this? I'm like, yeah, you got to be a little bit technical, you know, check it out. And now I have friends who are just like, hey, I'm trying to build a website. Which I do. I'm like, just go to Replit, you know, start up a core account and just get started from there. And I think that it's only going to get simpler. It's only getting easier. And I think you're going to be able to do more with less. I think it's continued to kind of go in that trajectory. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Lavi?
Yeah, I fully agree. I was thinking back to when like ChatGPT was hallucinating all the time, and it was only 2 years ago, but it feels like a long time ago. And the pace of change is just so high that it's hard to predict what happens. But the bar to start building has never been like in a better place. Anyone can really just start building, and so very excited to see where that takes us. More and more people are going to be able to design really high quality products as well. And like Devin was saying, that's sort of underexplored right now, but we're trying to get there with Replit Design as well. Where you don't need to be a super technical, strong product designer to be able to create really good products. And yeah, just really excited.
Yeah. Right on. Devin?
Yeah. Geez, it's a big question. I think I'm just really excited in the future to see like new ways of thinking and new types of creations emerge. Like there's been so much changed about the way that we create and the way that we're able to do our thinking, but we're still kind of like thinking about the same things and we're still kind of creating with the same media and creating the same types of outputs. So I'm really curious to see. I don't even like know what this looks like or what might come down the pipe in the next couple of years. But just like new types of creations that people have access to and new ways of thinking about the creative process that we maybe we're not able to dream of until now.
Yeah, I think there's this concept in software development or in the technical world generally of like unknown unknowns. And I think we're entering the era of unknown unknowns because we're all building on vibes, right? Like this vibe code era. I don't know what they're going to look back on this moment where everyone's like, let's just write the code by, like spitting ideas into the world. Right. And so, yeah, I don't know where this goes because a year ago, 2 years ago, like you said, we didn't know what these models were going to do, how they were going to evolve. I'm thinking about my journey as a digital creator and like beating my head against the wall, trying to hire software developers and trying to build these products and get these things out of my head into the world. And how much of my life up until this point, that translation process has been like the limiting factor of getting something across the finish line, right? Whether it's financial, whether it's technical, whatever the ceiling is, there has been a thing above me saying, no, you can't do that. And now that ceiling feels like it's disappearing, right? I'm not saying it's gone. There's for sure like limitations and there's still stuff. This stuff costs money. It takes time. You still have to have skills to like do it well. However, those barriers are slowly drifting away in my experience here. And I don't know what that looks like when you just give like creators, people, like inventors, just raw potential like that. And so that's what excites me. Is like what's coming next is like, I don't know. We're heading into this like crazy world of just unknowables. And to me, that's exciting. I know a lot of people like structure. They like to know kind of like, oh, what are we going to talk about? Like, I don't know. We're going to have a fun conversation. Just show up, And so like, that's how I kind of feel about the future right now. It's like, I don't really know where we're headed, but come join us. This is like going to be a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think its future is bright, and I'm seeing a lot here in the chat about how Replit has like kind of made them rethink how things should work, and also that they're spoiled because everything comes out so fast. The iterations are always so quick. So yeah, a huge thanks to the Replit team or design team for spending some time with us here and just again kind of showcasing like how all it was kind of possible.
Yeah, love Replit as an app, and you guys always share valuable information. Plus, love Amjad interviews. Much love from Kenya. Chef Alvin Jones on LinkedIn. Nice. Yeah. World's talent is being unlocked now, especially with open weights. Brett, yes, I think that's an interesting conversation to be had. And yeah, I agree 100%. The future feels less like writing code and more like designing systems while AI handles the implementation. So many good thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's we'll leave it at that. The potential is yours. If you're a creator, if you're a designer, if you're not a designer, like Vic said, just get started. Just, if you have something in your head, if there's something pulling at you, if you feel like something should be in the world and exist, but it doesn't, like it's your responsibility now, right? There's no excuses. There's nothing stopping you from doing this. The tools are all at your disposal. So any other thoughts, anything else before we wrap up out of here?
Yeah, huge thanks to the community again for submitting those kind of the templates and keep sharing with us. We're always looking to check those out and just always excited to kind of see what people are building.
Right on.
Yeah, and thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. You know what? We're gonna miss shout out to Manny right now because yeah, shout out to Manny. Mostly because I'm over here thinking about how we're gonna close out of this, and I don't have the little thank you screen up. And I don't know how to put that thank you screen up. So we'll just go. And thanks everyone for hanging with us. It's been a blast. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Oh, hold up. How are we about to just leave without even mentioning Tuesday? Everyone, Designathon. We're gonna build together. 7-day design challenge is coming at you. 50,000 plus in cash and credits and prizes. We're going to, just join us Tuesday. We're going to go deep on, the Designathon. If you go to the Buildathon hub, maybe we could,
that'd be cool.
Should we pull it up? All right, let's switch off. If you all have to go, Devin and Pallavi, we can make that happen here. I don't know what's going to happen here. Okay, I'm just going to go to screen share. If you guys got to peel out, we can drop you off here on the side if anybody has to abandon ship. But what I wanted to do, you guys are looking at our little screen controls here. Okay, just real quick. Buildathons, it's coming up. 3 days, 21 hours, 59 minutes, 27 seconds, counting down to basically our Buildathon next week. So yeah, that's all. We just wanted to put it on your radar. Join us. We're going to build. We're going to tinker. We're going to give away lots of cash and prizes. If you've been a part of a Buildathon in the past, they're a lot of fun. So
Yeah, excited to see you there. Please open up your profile. Make sure to claim that if you haven't already. Join us on Discord. We're going to be ramping up, and a huge shout out to KG who's helping us moderate. But yeah, we'll see you all soon.
Okay, now it's over. All right, bye everyone.